Chapter 17.
Draco woke up to the sound of pounding. The source of the noise was a head repeatedly hitting against the metal table beside his bed, causing a dull ache to echo sympathetically in his own head. What on earth? Draco groaned, rubbing the sleep from his eyes. What's causing such a ruckus? He looked at his hands, sighing with relief upon seeing his familiar pale, bony fingers. Is anyone there? He glanced down, only to be met by the sight of the wrinkled skin atop a house elf's head. Hey, can you please find another place to do whatever that is? The sick kids are trying to get better here. The elf raised its enormous, glassy eyes to meet his, tears threatening to spill at any moment. Draco Malfoy is in worse shape than before, and it's all Dobby's fault. Dobby! Draco exclaimed, his voice rising uncontrollably in a childish shriek. Shamed by the sound, he clapped a hand over his mouth and maneuvered awkwardly onto the floor beside the sorrowful elf. Now that Draco was close, he knew the face without a doubt, even though there was a time when he thought all house elves looked identical. Dobby, he whispered, resisting the impulse to enfold him in a consoling hug. Dobby, stop hurting yourself like that. Bad elf, bad Dobby, the elf declared vehemently, banging his head once more. Dobby tried to help, but made things worse. Draco Malfoy was crying out in pain, and Dobby couldn't fix it. Stop it, Dobby, Draco interjected, wedging his body between the miniature creature and the unforgiving metal nightstand. The pain's gone now. It was supposed to last all night, but... He glanced at the hospital wings clock and smiled. It's barely after midnight, Dobby, and I'm just a bit drowsy. Did I faint? Draco Malfoy was in terrible suffering, Dobby replied anxiously, and Dobby couldn't bear to see Draco Malfoy in the same agony as when Lucius Malfoy was around. Embarrassing as it was, Draco felt tears prick his eyes. How did you do it? House elves can't heal, can they? Memories of a nameless house elf refusing to help his scuffed knee, pleading with watery eyes, its feeble magic impotent, welled up within him. They cannot, Dobby admitted with sorrow. Or Dobby would have been more useful, but Draco Malfoy had to wait so long for the potion to take effect. So Dobby used a bit of Dobby's own magic to hasten it dash. The notion that house elves possessed such a capability was as exhilarating as it was frightening. But it plunged Draco Malfoy into severe distress, and Dobby didn't know what to do. It was like taking all the pain at once. Draco sighed in realization, but I'm grateful it's over. I wouldn't have endured much longer. Passing out was a blessing. Thank you, Dobby. You saved me again. No need for self-punishment. Dobby thought Draco Malfoy would be mad at him. Dobby said in a timid voice, abandoning his headbanging endeavor, because Dobby didn't come when Draco Malfoy asked. Draco shook his head, the mere idea of harboring resentment against his unlikely savior inconceivable. If someone like Voldemort had jolted me awake, I'd have cast aside any anger. And Dobby did try, but the other elves said Hogwarts already has ample help, that the headmaster advised Dobby to search beyond its walls before considering Hogwarts. And Dobby's been seeking a position that pays, for Dobby is free now. Pride flickered briefly in the elf's words, before a somber note returned. Yet, no wizard in Britain or America wanted to employ Dobby. Dobby didn't want Draco Malfoy to worry unnecessarily. Hearing of the Chamber of Secrets opening at Hogwarts, Dobby came to protect both Draco Malfoy and Harry Potter. At the end of his lengthy monologue, tears slipped down Draco's cheeks without his consent, an inundation partly from the recent trauma, partly from sheer relief. Are you working at Hogwarts now, Dobby? Sadly, Dobby shook his head. No, Draco Malfoy, they declined again. Dobby shouldn't have lingered, but Dobby can't bear the thought of Draco Malfoy in danger. If Draco Malfoy understood what it means for a pure-blood wizard to willingly suffer on behalf of a house elf. It's an act of kindness, reminiscent of Harry Potter. Dobby recalls the dark era when he who must not be named reigned. Elves were less than dirt. But Harry Potter's triumph heralded a new dawn for us, a beacon of hope during seemingly endless nights, and now you stand with him at Hogwarts, championing a new era, amid perilous times, and Hogwarts already teeming with such horror. Dobby wishes neither you nor Harry Potter resided where he's barred from staying. Abruptly, Draco interjected. Why won't they hire you at Hogwarts? Did they speak to the headmaster? No room in the kitchens still? Dobby's fingers fidgeted with the buttons of his prison-turned freedom shirt, Draco's crisp white button-down discarded and tarnished by father's anger, now gleaming after Dobby tenderly laundered it. The headmaster said Dobby's connection to Draco Malfoy is the issue. Suddenly, footsteps resonated across the hospital wing, piercing the deepening quiet. Pressing a finger to his lips, Dobby warned Draco silently, who mirrored the gesture in mutual complicity before peering past the bed and table. Dumbledore entered the dormitory in a voluminous woolen dressing gown, topped by an absurdly peaky nightcap. He was carrying one end of what looked like a statue, but was something Draco easily identified. Within moments, McGonagall appeared, holding the figure's feet. Together, they managed to maneuver the boy onto a bed. After a brief word from Dumbledore, McGonagall departed and soon returned with Madame Pomfrey, who was hurriedly donning a cardigan over her nightclothes. Upon seeing the stone-like boy, her usually composed demeanor faltered, and an unsettling gasp echoed in the night. What happened? Madame Pomfrey softly asked Dumbledore as she examined the boy on the bed, whose name Draco frustratingly couldn't recall. Another attack, responded Dumbledore. A student discovered him just outside the Ollery steps. Apparently, he was penning a late-night letter to his parents about the Quidditch game. He might have even paused to snap a photograph of the tower. He showed Madame Pomfrey the unsent letter, causing her to sigh deeply. Draco studied the immobilized boy under the moonlight, but the name eluded him. Something starting with a C, perhaps, or was it an F? A strange name, but he did know this was the boy he had barked at earlier on the pitch, with the camera still clenched in his stiff fingers. Petrified, Madame Pomfrey murmured. Indeed, McGonagall affirmed. If it weren't for Katie Bell heading to write to her parents about the game, and Albus being on his way downstairs for some hot chocolate, who knows what might have. McGonagall considered that the boy might have captured an image of his attacker, which would have been a relief to prove Draco's innocence. However, just as before, it seemed unsuccessful, as the air grew heavy with steam and the scent of singed plastic. With gravity, Dumbledore said, it signifies that the Chamber of Secrets has once again been opened. Draco could have nearly laughed at how futile his attempts with the diary had been to change anything, if Dobby weren't standing there still holding a finger to his lips. McGonagall questioned, but Albus surely who? The question isn't who, Draco overheard Dumbledore reply. It's a matter of how. And then, Dumbledore's eyes landed on Draco's vacant bed. Mr. Malfoy, Dumbledore called with mild curiosity. Would you think about joining us? Emerging from behind the bed with reluctance, Draco stood in his pajamas, fully healed, much to the astonishment of the two women. The potion should have taken, Madame Pomfrey began. Dobby, the boldest house elf ever, had to interject. Draco Malfoy has done nothing wrong, Dobby declared. Dobby helped him heal faster. Dobby woke him when Headmaster Dumbledore was on his way. Draco watched as Dobby's confidence faltered upon seeing the petrified Muggleborn, yet he stood unwaveringly against the professors if they meant any harm toward Draco. Stunned expressions remained the women's response, unlike Dumbledore's calm demeanor. Dobby, Dumbledore greeted with mild surprise. How lovely to see you so soon. Is this young Malfoy's house elf from their manor? McGonagall inquired, aghast at finding him here. In a sense, Dumbledore explained. Dobby once served at Malfoy Manor, but was freed, his attire reflecting this. He's seeking employment here at Hogwarts. I believe that's all we can manage for Mr. Creevey tonight. Colin Creevey, yes, that was it. If you don't mind, I'd like to speak privately with Mr. Malfoy and his steadfast friend. The prospect of McGonagall leaving chilled Draco. He held a cautious respect for her, especially after she had created a time travel chart for him during his first year. Dumbledore's presence, however, always recalled him to that dreadful night at the astronomy tower. The more Dumbledore noticed him, the worse it became. McGonagall examined Draco as if he'd done something highly peculiar. You don't object to the headmaster calling this house elf your friend? Draco shrugged, though it could implicate Dobby in worse by being truthful. Why not? It's not like I have any other friends left. Dumbledore's lips twitched. Severus mentioned your flair for drama. Good night. With that, McGonagall and Pomfrey exited, leaving the three alone with the petrified student. Draco glanced at Dobby, whose expression was deeply touched by Draco's implicit acknowledgement of their friendship. But Dobby restrained any excessive reaction under Dumbledore's piercing gaze. Do you suspect I'm the heir of Slytherin? Draco challenged. Marcus Flint always claimed the best defense was a strong offense, usually involving a well-aimed bludger, but the thought echoed in Draco's mind. Excuse me? Queried Dumbledore, looking through his spectacles with the demeanor of a benign, yet eccentric, elder. Your quick rebound from adversity is commendable after such a traumatic accident. Draco tried to mask his disdain, but if anyone should have known he wasn't what Potter believed, it should have been Dumbledore, who seemed to intuitively know who had released the monster from the Chamber of Secrets. The question isn't who, but how. Unless that who in their minds was Draco, due to his stunt with the diary and countless other schematics. I'm aware of my reputation at Hogwarts, Draco finally said, hearing Ron's voice in his head. That's what happens when you curse people. It makes others think you might, in fact, curse people. I know some think I'm some prodigious dark wizard assassin, which is exactly what I've led them to believe, so they'll leave me be. But Dobby is just guilty by association? He doesn't take orders from me or anyone else, not anymore. Should he decide to assist me, it'll be out of his own volition. He's autonomous and truly lacks any alternative destinations.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this chapter, please hit the subscribe button and ring the bell to stay updated with more audiobooks. Happy listening!